co-hosts on this Thursday morning. He is a New York Times best-selling author, retired firefighter, safety engineer, and when he grows up, he wants to be a baseball player, too, and an astronaut. Mr. John Gilster.
Good morning. Happy that yesterday is over. Somebody, I guess with a sense of humor, put a virus, whatever, on my computer that the vowels no longer worked. So as
Which would kill me as an Italian.
Well, of course, everybody you knew, your contacts list went away. So here I'm typing away, and I watch my fingers when I type because I never learned to type. And I look up, and there's this garbage. And so I ran all the checks and all that. There were no discernible viruses, so I was forced into buying a new computer at a week when I'm not the only person buying computers at the beginning of school.
Week,
so it was an interesting day.
Nice line. Being the sympathetic friend that I am, I sent John a bunch of expletives with the vowels removed and let him try to decode them on his own time. Let's also say good morning to Mike Gallers Jr.
Good morning. Live from the Stubblefield throne.
Yeah, you are on the chair. Owned by Mike Hornby, but sat in oftentimes by Mr. Stubblefield. Mike is a former teacher, currently works in politics as well, as substituting as a co-host on this program. Kind of like Batman. I put the shield up in the sky, and you come to the rescue.
I do my best. I do my best to see the shield in the sky.
Much appreciated, sir. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Our guest in this segment as we open up the program is the chief of City of Martinsburg Police Department, Erin Gibbons. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you all this morning?
We are well. How's the back?
Very tender right now. Just don't make me laugh. I had to laugh. I was coming up with a comment about that virus that I put on your computer. I was wondering how you would handle that.
Flawlessly.
It sounds like... Did you call them about the new computer, or did they call you? That's the question. That's the question.
We need an investigation. Gilstrap's had a lot of adventures in the last year, and he's weathered them all.
Yes.
Including his back.
Now my back.
You guys could trade doctors, maybe opinions and advice and whatever, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing with that backache I sent you?
I was waiting for that one, too.
That'll work. Chief, I have to say, the press releases I get from the city have calmed down over the last month or two as compared to going back to last year and even earlier this year with crime in the city. What's been the difference?
There's a huge difference. I think first of all, we're getting back up to full staff, to full staff. So we have a lot of the officers out walking around. We get constant calls in from the community, from the public, any concerns, complaints that come through, anything that someone notices out here in the general public. We get calls all the time on it, and we're within minutes of the call itself. And I think that plays a big part in just the response from the community.
Not too long ago, both the city of Martinsburg and the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department were down on officers, sometimes maybe by 10% of what the maximum force would be or greater. And not only were they low on officers, but they were also having difficulty attracting officers. That's reversed lately. What's been the change?
Well, when I came in as chief, I would say just in the past 18 or 19 months, we've gone through, kind of changed the recruitment process, or at least how we personify ourselves out to the public. Completely disbanded the recruitment team and turned every officer by way of incentive into a recruiter, which really did help. So in the past 18, 19 months, we've hired, I think it was 29 new members. Now, of those 29, we only have 19 left. We had to do some checks and balances with some of the new recruits. Some of them have actually made it through the academy, and they just weren't making up to the expectations. So we had to kind of weed that out, and we get into a really nice spot. Now, we're always going to have the attrition effect. The grass is always greener, something in Loudoun County, that money in Loudoun County, we can't compete with that. We never will. Maybe an officer wants to go out here in the county and get in pit maneuvers and pursuits and stuff, and in a municipality, we just can't afford that. So I think a lot of things have changed. I think the face of the department, hopefully we've changed the face of the department and made it more of a welcoming location to work. So it seems to be working really well. We still have an application process. We still have a test coming up here in September. You can get on the website to check for our testing date and all the requirements for it.
Is that the City of Martinsburg's general website or specific
Yes,
to
if
the
you
police?
get on if you get on the City of Martinsburg's website, you just Google City of Martinsburg and go to police and then apply now. It'll say apply now, and it'll have all the requirements and how to apply on the website.
Do you have a DUI checkpoint coming up?
No, I do not. But we do participate in the Governor's Highway Safety programs. We do not necessarily DUI checkpoints, but we do traffic enforcement by way of Governor's Highway funds. But we don't have any checkpoints coming up.
Generally speaking, when those are conducted, is it because grant money came through to enable those?
You don't need grant money to do a checkpoint. If I wanted to set up for a checkpoint, a couple of weeks from now, there is a system to do that with all the postings and everything. But you don't need grant funding for DUI checkpoints. The only thing I really need is just man hours.
Do you determine what's the process of determining when you want to do those checkpoints and where?
It's usually if you get a calling from, let's just say it's a calling from the community, and there's a growing concern in a certain location. Of course, those locations depend on if you have places where people can turn around or divert away from the path. It's usually a general concern from somebody in the public or members in the public, or officers are noticing something, so they bring it to our attention and say, hey, I think it'd be a good idea to do a DUI checkpoint in this location.
When you were on previously, you mentioned the help of video cameras in the community that were helping to arrest suspects that may have been involved in crimes.
Yes, so we had originally we had 8 cameras installed downtown. One at Winchester and King Street. The other one was at the Square, King and Queen. And we've just recently put up 12 more. Now, these aren't 12 throughout the city. They're packs of 4. So it's 3 additional camera systems. Each one has 4 cameras. That one just went up at Foxcroft and King. I think I might have spoken about that one before. Mm-hmm. I wanted one there. And then the other one is at Martin and Queen. And then the other one is, I believe we put that one, we were going to have it at, I believe we still have that one at Porter and King.
Have these paid off with assistance in making arrests? It
really has. We actually had a stabbing at Midtown 7-Eleven where it was right on camera. So it does help. And we can keep an eye on downtown businesses. If something happens with one of the businesses, or you get anything from vandalism to a burglary to one of the businesses, we have cameras downtown. So,
do you use those for red light runners or anything traffic related?
No, we're not going to use it for red light runners. It's actually against the law, but.
It's against the law to run a red light, too.
It really is.
Mr. Gilstrap.
With the tragedy in Minneapolis in the forefront of everybody's mind right now, in the brand new school year, and there's always a concern about copycat crazies that are out there. Are there additional security precautions being put into place, or what do you put out to the residents of Martinsburg and surrounding areas to keep everybody happy and feeling secure?
So school is back in. We have currently right now we have a school resource officer at Martinsburg High School. We have school safety officers at North Middle and South Middle now, as well as Orchard View Elementary School. We have our officers daily. If I were to bring a radio in here and let you listen to the radio, you'll see Unit 26 out at Orchard View doing a school check, over at Rosemont doing a school check, North Middle's doing a school check. These guys are constantly in between calls doing school checks throughout the day. And it's completely random how they do, and that's important to have it random when these officers are doing these checks. But just like this threat that came out the other day at Martinsburg High School, I did that press release. I think you guys had that press release where we had actually made we arrested a juvenile and an adult in that threat, and that was all social media. It actually came through the Fusion Center.
So what happens? You always, after these tragedies, there's a certain reverse engineering, and well, it's obvious that the perpetrator was doing odd things. So if a resident, if somebody sees that their neighbor or little Billy is doing things that are strange, and they call the police, what happens? They haven't committed a crime, really.
Well, it depends on the situation. I mean, anything that draws concern, you should call it in. Just yesterday, we had one at the area schools where one of the local residents heard gunshots, and it wasn't a heavy series of gunshots. Just every once in a while, you'd hear a popping noise, and it was coming from the direction of one of the schools. So, of course, we flood the area. They already had a school safety officer there, and they're like, we're not seeing anything, but we're still going to act accordingly. Comes to find out, it was somebody target practicing a half mile away or a quarter mile away. But as far as seeing something, saying something, that is where we can, of course, it's call dependent. It's going to be the totality of all the circumstances that are involved on if we are actually going to make a charge on somebody. We have to have something there. But making that initial call, we have to have that call, and people have been doing it, and that's what we're there for. We welcome those calls, especially when it comes to protecting our kids.
Mr. Allers.
So when I first moved to West Virginia, I remember I was having pizza at Brothers in Charlestown, and our waitress was from
Which
Martinsburg.
has great Sicilian pizza, by the way.
Great Sicilian pizza. I would argue it's the best pizza in the region.
I agree.
But she told me she was from Martinsburg, the waitress, and she was like, yeah, I'm from Little Baltimore. She's like, that's what we called Martinsburg. I was like, really? Like, I don't know. I was new to the area.
Was this?
This was like 2 years ago. But it stood out to me because I'm like, I've never heard that Martinsburg would be referred to as Little Baltimore. Or I don't know if it was just her particular take. If it was Little Baltimore at one time, how has the city of Martinsburg changed in terms of crime? Because when I'm driving around, like, I guess I don't really see a lot of crime. Like, you guys seem to have it well patrolled. So where does this Little Baltimore exist?
Yeah, I think that phrase was termed back in at least early 2000s.
Okay.
I did hear that phrase coming up through 2005, 6, 7, up through, and I think that just tough on crime throughout the years, I think, has really alleviated a lot of that. All things considering, getting these guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have guns, getting the dope that's killing people off the street. We have our dirt teams, our CERT team, but we call it our dirt team, out running around doing overtime, 4-hour blocks in the evenings, on weekends, just crushing crime. And I think that phrase was coined because of that violence back in the day. Even though here a couple years ago we had a little spur of violence that popped up, but since then, again, like you said, you haven't seen many of those press releases, which is a good sign.
Do you think that comes mostly from, is it actually grown in the area, or because of our proximity to 95 and there's Hagerstown and all these other cities, does it kind of spill over from there?
Well, you look comparatively speaking to Winchester or Hagerstown at the crime rate. We have a much lower crime rate. When you walk around downtown Martinsburg, you may see somebody out here on the street that's working that corner or doing something. But in Hagerstown or Winchester, you see a lot more of it. And you do see a lot more of those press releases coming out. But I think that it's, us having a downtown officer full-time, a full-time traffic officer, a full-time dirt team out there working, I think that that's really cutting down on that criminal activity. Plus, we're putting up cameras everywhere. So
Cameras is the game. Yeah.
I believe you will hear words from Kevin Knowles when he comes in on the Little Baltimore thing. I think that's a hot button issue for him.
Kevin will be on at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, don't bring that up to Kevin.
Yeah, take us back to the Martinsburg incident, the high school incident that you had the press release out again. Give us a bit more detail if you can, Chief.
So it was a juvenile and an adult. It was over social media. We didn't know at the time that it was a juvenile and adult. The call came in from a tipster to the Fusion Task Force, and they in turn called us Our detectives went out, worked it. They worked it diligently. They did a great job. And I just say that by way of reading through the narrative of what they actually had to do. Just like the daycare thing the other day, I had to read through that narrative because I want to know what they did. And they spent hours upon hours just digging, doing search warrants on cell phones and IP addresses and getting to the heart of the matter before school started the next day. And sure enough, they made an arrest in the middle of the night on an adult and a juvenile.
You referenced the daycare incident. I know we talked about that before the show began a little bit. I don't know if we've addressed it since the show.
So there was a voiceover call made to one of the daycares, one of the local daycares. Actually, there were, I think, either 3 or 4 calls. I did read through the call logs, and they were making threats to the kids in the daycare. Again, voiceover calls, they're app services, not something that you normally think that you'd be able to do a search warrant and pull records, but we're the police, we can do that. So we did search warrants for all that. Again, we have these new guys coming in that just started in the past couple of years, the Taylor Hers and the Michael Chaputs and the Bradley Howards. These guys are out, and they're very knowledgeable when they come out of the academy, and we're training them, getting them up to speed, and we have such a good detective base. They're going out and doing this work in patrol themselves and then pulling the detective bureau in with them to help. And as a team, they collectively came up with a name and an IP address that these calls were coming from, and they were coming from somewhere on, I think this one was over on Raleigh Street. So they start talking to neighbors, they get out on foot, they start knocking on doors. And come to find out, one of the employees was making these calls because she didn't want to come to work. So they got everybody all in an uproar. All the schools pretty much on lockdown and daycare all in a bunch. And this girl just didn't want to come to work.
Isn't it wild that it took more effort to do this scheme than just simply call out of work?
Yes.
Or just going to work. Yeah.
Or just going to work.
Now, to put in perspective and discourage others, how much trouble is this perpetrator in?
Those are terroristic threats. Those are some big jail times on all 3 of those individuals.
So this is life ruining, right?
It is. It's life ruining. That stays on a record.
Speaking of something that could have potentially been life ruining, there was an incident near the Martinsburg High School at during a football game. Was that last season or the season before?
Last season.
That was last season where the round hit the press box. Press box. It may have been when I was on the radio with you that we didn't really have all the details of that case, but that stemmed from a home invasion. We have camera of the actual home invasion itself. We had video of it.
Is that from a home?
It was from
doorbell?
a home. It was from actually inside of the apartment. It was a home invasion, and when the 2 home invaders took off running down the street, the homeowner came out and just started shooting rounds down the street, and one of those rounds went over into the towards the football field and hit the press box.
Now,
of course, we didn't know at that time that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in regards to someone breaks into your place, there's a difference between discharging your firearm within the home versus chasing the person down the street and discharging the firearm.
Yeah. At that point where you lost your fear of safety, that's where that criminal. It's going to matter when it comes to the indictment. That's all I'm going to say.
Also,
if somebody comes into your house, you have the right to protect your house. Mm-hmm. The moment they leave your threshold and they go running down the street and you start shooting rounds towards the sky or whatever it is, then that changes.
And you would be legally responsible, generally speaking, if you struck somebody with
God
that
forbid
bullet.
One of those rounds hit somebody in that crowd.
Which it came so close to doing.
Somebody was wounded, lowercase w,
Yeah, just got hit right in the by shrapnel. In the lower back or the...
I think something deflected off a railing, I think it was, correct?
Off the bottom of the press box.
Oh, my gosh.
Gotcha.
So let's talk about these cameras a little bit. Is there somebody in the police department that passively reviews these cameras on a daily basis?
No, we do not. Now, I can bring it up right here on my cell phone if I need to. If I want to see
you're not searching for crimes that might have happened.
We're not searching for crimes that might have happened. Now, if we do get notice of a crime, then we're going to definitely check through our crimes. Right. And I apologize. It's not. We were originally going to have one of the cameras at Porter and King. The last one was at the last minute moved over to Tuskegee.
So it's more if something happened, then you could always go back and pull the footage. Okay.
Yes. We're not going to be sitting there watching, stoplights and all that stuff. But yeah, we do have license plate readers on one of the cameras. On each one of the systems of 4 has one camera that has an LPR, a license plate reader on it.
Do you get some type of alarm if you get a plate?
If we go looking for something, then yes, but we don't get an active alarm on something. If there's a stolen vehicle out of Arkansas, we're not going to get a notification anywhere.
Do your squad cars all have LPRs?
No, none of our cars have LPRs. None.
Do you have a right to the Ring, the doorbell cameras that people have on their homes that are recording the street?
Do we have a right to them?
Yeah, I mean, if there's been a crime that's committed and you want to see that footage, can you compel that?
That'd be a warrant?
Not compel. I mean, you could actually do a search warrant, but I will say that even when we were working that homicide case up on East Burke Street last year with the 2 individuals that started shooting at each other, every single person that had a Ring doorbell on East Burke Street wanted us to see what was on that video. We have never really had any issues having the community or members of the community offering up their surveillance.
You said you have a test coming up in September. Is the class full for it?
No, actually, we do have several applicants that have signed up for the test. Usually we get about half of those, so I'd imagine maybe there's about 15 or 20 that show up. Again, since the last time we talked, we're probably down 2. But I mean, we're always hiring, and we always have to keep somebody on that list. State says we have to keep somebody on the list, so by all means, come and apply. You can get on our website. As far as school safety, right next to that on our, we just put a new school safety post. Actually, the day prior to the incident with the daycare, we had actually put a school safety notice on our Facebook page, so check that out. I also have a new video on there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't want this is not an indictment of any of the previous police chiefs, but do you feel like you have modernized the City of Martinsburg Police Department?
Yeah, and I can tell by way of when they built our new. Sorry, I had to sit up for a second.
Watch that back.
I didn't realize take the oxygen out of my lungs. So we're going to a new CAD RMS system here, hopefully by the end of the year, January. We had just done this here 4 or 5
computer
years
aided
ago.
dispatch.
Yes, computer aided dispatch system. We're going to a new one here the end of December, January. Hopefully that helps with our maintaining stats and seeing the crime analytics and things like that. I can tell by the way, when they built this building, they had all this room for files. And now we're getting to the point where everything's digital, and that's one of my main goals, was to take everything digital as much as possible and get everything on digital. Well, we have all these file rooms with no files in them now, so we're trying to think of other ideas. We might have to put a big server in there or something to replace it. But
put a gym in there,
a clubhouse. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about putting something like a little. They could do yoga.
Keep the back loose. Keep that
That's
massage.
What I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, Chief, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in this morning with the bad back and all.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen, very much. I'm the chief. I can have a bad back.
We are back with more after these.